How we doing, folks? Welcome back to Water Cooler Quarterback, where we act like we know things about football. Week 8 is upon us, and you already know the deal. Let's go ahead and make some predictions for this week's slate of games. Before we do, we of course have to go ahead and check in on the Water Cooler Quarterback Pick'em League. And after a crazy Week 7, let's see how the standings are doing. To absolutely no one's surprise, we've still got Football Americano in first place. Donzi Lee and Gridiron Warriors follow closely behind in second and third respectively, and I am still sitting in fourth place. I also want to give a shout out to Junior Mints, who managed to get 7 of last week's games correct. That's the best of anybody in the league, and in a week as weird as Week 7, that is a feat in and of itself. And we are only just about to hit the halfway point of the regular season, so there is still plenty of time for all of these standings to get completely shaken up. So if you're sitting down there in like 7th or 8th place, don't worry about it. There's still time to make a run. But let's go ahead and chat about some of the key matchups coming up in Week 8. We're going to start off by talking about what should be a really solid matchup in the early slate of games. We've got the LA Rams heading to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. The Rams are sitting at 3-4 and the Cowboys at 4-2, so this is looking to be a pretty evenly matched game. The Rams are currently ranked 6th in terms of passing offense, and a lot of that has to do with their rookie sensation Puka Nacua, and of course, one of the best, Cooper Kupp. However, on the other side of the ball are the Cowboys, the league's second best passing defense, giving up less than 200 passing yards a game. So this passing offense going up against this passing defense should make for an awesome game for us viewers. But I think the mismatch of this game comes from the Rams defense going up against the Cowboys offense. The Rams defense is incredibly young, and going up against experienced guys like Dak Prescott and just elite weapons in CeeDee Lamb and Tony Pollard could prove difficult for them. And while the Cowboys offense hasn't been anything to write home about so far this year, I do think they'll find success against LA. So I do have the Cowboys winning this game at home. But as much as I, a Cardinals fan, hate the Rams, I do have to acknowledge that they have been really good this year. And even if they fall to 3-5 after this week, I think they have to be pretty content with the way their team has been playing. Their ability to stay competitive with such a young team is nothing short of impressive. And don't get me wrong, they will be in this game, but I think that Dallas defense is just too good. Ooh, okay, now here's another really fun game. We've got the Browns heading to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. And this is an out-of-conference game that has got massive implications for both sides. Both teams are just one game back from their division lead, so a win here could go a long way for their postseason hopes. And as a quick aside, I would like to point out that we are getting a look at those tasty Seahawks throwbacks this week. But as for the actual game being played, we have been talking a lot lately about how unbelievably dominant the Browns defense has been. But up against the Colts and their backup quarterback Gardner Minshew last week, they gave up 456 yards of offense, well over double what they'd been averaging up until that point. So the big question heading into Week 8 is, of course, can the Browns get back to that elite defense? And I think they can. Their secondary is phenomenal, and yeah, Myles Garrett is a one-man wrecking ball. But across the way are Geno Smith and the Seahawks, who found success last week even without star wide receiver DK Metcalf. Their rookie Jackson Smith-Njigba grabbed his first career touchdown. Kenneth Walker was the only running back all weekend with over 100 yards, and ultimately they came away with a win over my Cardinals. However, as successful as they were last week, I do have some serious concerns about their O-line. Geno Smith is being pressured more than almost any quarterback in the league. 30% of his dropbacks have him under pressure. And while he hasn't been sacked too many times, I'm a little bit worried about him staying off of his back with Myles Garrett coming after him. So that's not great for Seattle. But what is great for Seattle is the fact that they will be going up against the Browns' backup quarterback, PJ Walker. And as a quick side note, there seems to be some questions surrounding Deshaun Watson at this point, and rightfully so. This guy is a great example of why fully guaranteed contracts should not be a thing in the NFL. This is now 3 times that he has been cleared to play, and he just hasn't. So this game does come with some question marks. Can PJ Walker keep the Browns afloat? And can the Seahawks O-line keep Geno clean? When the clock inevitably reads 0, I do have the Seahawks coming away with the win. Rookie Devin Witherspoon is going to be bringing the hammer down all day long, and I don't think that a backup quarterback is ready to handle the 12th man, especially on throwback day. And I'll call my shot here. I'd look for this game to be a defensive slugfest decided by a field goal or less. And of course, you know we've got to talk about the Cardinals. They are going to be hosting the Baltimore Ravens this week, who just got through absolutely throttling the Detroit Lions. And I mean, it wasn't even close. The Ravens had 28 points before the Lions got a single first down. And with a performance like that against one of the NFC's best teams, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of hope for this game. At the time of recording this, we still don't know if Kyler Murray's going to be back for this game, and while it's possible, it does look like the team is being as cautious as they possibly can be with his return. I wouldn't be surprised if they give him one more week before throwing him back into the action, because sending him out there against a red-hot Ravens team to just get slaughtered in his first game back may not be the best idea. All that said, as of today, or at least the day I'm recording this, he did log a full practice, so maybe he is good to go. But with or without Kyler, unfortunately, I don't see the Cardinals coming away with a win here. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to be rooting for him. I'm going to be pulling for my guys, but against the Ravens, I'm not so sure. And finally, in a game that could set the league on fire, we have got the Cincinnati Bengals traveling to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. And as I keep listing these games, I'm realizing that almost the entire NFC West is taking on the entire AFC North this week. Weird. Anyway, the Bengals started off the season about as bad as a team could. They were downright terrible, but now find themselves on a 2-game win streak and have seemingly got their mojo back. Meanwhile, the Niners were one of the last 2 undefeated teams heading into Week 6, but since then are now on a 2-game losing streak, dropping games to both the Cleveland Browns and the Minnesota Vikings. So with the Bengals on the rise and the Niners seemingly falling flat, this game has got the potential to really shake up the league standings. If the Bengals win, they'll be over 500 for the first time this season and still well in contention for the AFC North. And if the Niners lose, you know the national media is going to be panicking on a team that just a couple of weeks ago everyone thought was going to walk away with a Super Bowl. And I totally get that a lot of the reason that San Fran has been lacking in the past 2 weeks is due to injury. But I'm sorry, if the Niners need CMC, Debo, Trent Williams, Kittle, and Brandon Ayuk all fully healthy in order to win games, there might be a problem there. You have to be able to find ways to win when 1 or 2 of your key pieces goes down. Injuries are unavoidable throughout the season, and if you start dropping 2, maybe 3 games just because your wide receiver is out, you might be in some trouble, especially with Cincinnati coming to town. Oh, and we also just got word that Brock Purdy is in concussion protocol and may not be ready to go for Sunday. If that's the case, Sam Darnold is going to get the start, and this situation just keeps getting worse the more I talk about it. For the Bengals, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are all the way back. Their defense is respectable, and I think they're coming alive when they absolutely needed to. So in calling this game, I'm actually going to go ahead and pick the Bengals here. The 49ers got upset by the Cleveland Browns, but you know, a team hasn't gone undefeated in 50 years. It's not like you were going to get through the whole season without a loss somewhere. So it's okay, we can forgive that. But they failed to capitalize on what should have been a pretty easy get-right game against the Minnesota Vikings, a team that only had 2 wins up until that point. A team that was also without their star wide receiver and still found a way to win when San Francisco couldn't. Hopefully the Niners are able to get healthy, because when they're not, they appear to be very beatable, and if they lose this game, they may just lose the lead in the division. All right, well, those are just a few of the key matchups from this weekend's NFL action. There are still a lot of games to talk about, so let's have another installment of Quick Picks, where we talk about the rest of the remaining games in just 1 sentence or less. Vikings at Packers. The Packers are no longer the kings of the North, and I think the Vikings will be very happy to remind them of that. Falcons at Titans. I don't know what to make of this game, but I think that Tennessee defense is going to be real tough for Desmond Ridder. Saints at Colts. It has not been a good week for Chris Olave and his cars. Patriots at Dolphins. After last week, you never know, but I'd be silly to not take the Dolphins here. Jets at Giants. The battle between New York teams that actually play in New Jersey will be won by that Jets defense. Jaguars at Steelers. 2 solid defenses here, but that Pittsburgh offense just continues to be pitiful, so I'm taking the Jags. Eagles at Commanders. If the Eagles kill the Commanders, is that considered treason? Or Texans at Panthers. CJ Stroud is going to show Carolina exactly what they missed out on in the draft. Chiefs at Broncos. I know technically these 2 teams have to play each other twice a year, but do we need a rerun of Week 6 already? Bears at Chargers. I'm mad at both of these teams, so I'm not going to pick one. What do you mean I have to? Fine, Chargers, but I'm not happy about it. Raiders at Lions. After last week's loss, Dan Campbell might actually eat Josh McDaniels' kneecaps. Well, that's all for today, folks. I hope you all enjoy Week 8 of NFL football. Be sure to do all the things, the likes, the comments, the subscribes, because they all help this channel so much. So thank you very much in advance for doing all that. And until we meet again, my name is Andrew, this is Water Cooler Quarterback, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.